Hi folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. A lot of the fishermen that came into our recent tournament and they bring in their bass and several of them said to me, because I was also standing at the place where when they come off the stage we put water back in the bag so those fish can survive and get them down to the release boat. And a lot of them said to me, have you noticed lamprey wounds on fish lately, especially on bass? And I said, no, I really hadn't. But then I started looking closer in the bags of fish that they were bringing in, and you could see these big round sores on the fish, or wounds, I guess you could say. When a lamprey gets on a fish, it just keeps sucking blood and sucking blood and sucking blood out of them until eventually they're so worn down, so weak that they die. And this is what can happen with any infestation of lampreys in a water system. And for years, I thought that we had really made great strides in reducing the number of lampreys in the Great Lakes water system. Lake Champlain was another area that suffered tremendously with lampreys, taking a huge cut on the populations of fish in Lake Champlain. And it took a program of collaboration between New York, Vermont, and Quebec, because all those areas border Lake Champlain, to have a lampricide program put in the streams where the lamprey spawn. But with that said, I did notice some of these wounds, and I wasn't aware that there might be an increase in lamprey sort of infestation in the river. The other thing that people asked me about, they said, they noticed that a lot of the bass they had sores on them from fizzing. Well, this told me a couple things. First of all, it tells that when we put these fish back in the water, it shows that they've been caught before. They apparently learn a little bit, but they don't learn enough to avoid lures in the future. And so that's why I've always said catch and release can make such a big difference in our future fisheries and the ability of our kids and the people that come after us to be able to enjoy this fishery. But, like us, if a fish gets wounded, or if anything gets wounded, even if it's a knife cut or whatever, that can get infected, and it can with fish. And so it's something to think about. I've told you before that years ago when there was a World Championship carp event that came up to our area, and one of the things that fascinated me is the fact that these anglers from other parts of the world that fish for carp actually carried antibiotic lotions and creams to put on the fish's mouth after they released the hook so they wouldn't become infected. And I thought, that's really crazy. Well, it wasn't crazy at all. And it just takes common sense to realize that these fish can become infected also. So, am I saying we should all go out and get some antibiotic cream to put on the fish? Maybe. It's not a stupid thing, and maybe it would help to keep these fish going so that we can continue to have the tremendous fishery that we have. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.